guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing some sewing and I thought I would take you along. We are going to work on cloth menstrual pads. So the pattern that I'm using comes from Hillbilly Housewife. I think it's hillbillyhousewife.com. I will try to put the link in the description. It's free. It has a lot of instructions to go through, lots of pages, but the actual pattern is 2 pieces. So you have the actual like outer pad and then the inner pad. Now she says on here to print it, I'm sorry, the kids are watching Mary Poppins, to print it with 1/2 inch margins, quarter inch margins. I couldn't do that on my printer, so I downloaded each page, saved it as a picture, printed it as a full page picture, but shrunk to fit. It seems appropriately sized. I don't know. She also said that these, she made the pattern. I think she said they were a little bit bigger, than normal. She said in it that most of the patterns that she found were for like, okay, here, a size 6 woman. I'm obviously not a size 6 woman. This says this is to accommodate the average woman who is a size 14 or larger. I'm about a size 14, so this should work. My oldest daughter, if she would want to use these, it would work for her. My next daughter down, we would probably have to shrink them, make her her own, because she's quite a bit smaller. So anyway, so now I have them all printed out and all my pages of instructions, and I'm going to cut out these pattern pieces. The outer pad, you cut, okay, let's see if I can get this right. I think, from what I'm understanding, is that you will fold this part, the part that says flap, fold it back so that it's a little bit narrower. So not perfect yet, but like that, and then you're going to cut this on the fold of the fabric, so it's going to open it up and be twice this. And then for the back part of it, where you're going to stuff it with the inner pad, the liners, you're going to do 2 of them, but with the whole thing, so that they will overlap and you'll be able to tuck those inner pads inside, I think. That's why I'm doing this, so that we can go through it together and figure out how this works. And if anybody else is having trouble with it, maybe they'll be able to refer to this video and hopefully it is helpful. So I'm going to cut these out, and then I'm going to just cut a ton of fabric pieces out, the pattern pieces. I had this huge piece of flannel. It came from a yard sale in a huge lot of fabric, so it was almost free. Like, I got boxes and boxes and boxes of fabric for $10. So yeah, it's really soft. I thought the coloration works pretty well for what we're doing. So I'm just going to cut a ton of them out, and then I'm just going to go through it, assembly line style. So I'm going to show you me sewing them, cutting them, all that stuff, but I'm going to be doing a voiceover afterward because of the kids watching the movie. We have a small house, and this is just the way I'm going to be able to do it, so hopefully that won't bother you too much. Let's get started. Okay, so we're starting here with cutting out the paper pattern pieces so that we can have them to cut out the fabric pattern pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and speed this up while we get this part done. Next, it was time to get the fabric pattern pieces cut out, and I decided it was going to be easier to just trace around them with a Sharpie instead of pinning and repinning or copying them a bunch of times. onto different paper. So right here I'm just going to go ahead and trace them onto my fabric on the back side. Once I had them all traced onto the fabric, then it was time to sit down and start cutting them out. I just started by cutting off a box that was containing all of these pieces and then cutting them out individually, and I think it worked really well to go ahead and do a bunch of these kind of in assembly line style, to just be able to get a bunch done at one time. It was kind of tedious while I was doing it, but looking back, I'm glad that that's how I chose to do it. Now we're almost done, and I decided to go ahead and cut a few out at a time, just doubling up the fabric, which worked okay, except those pieces ended up being a little bit bigger in the end, and I had some extra to trim off, but it got it done a lot quicker. And now it's time to sew. So I'm starting with the insert pieces, and I'm just showing you here that I'm changing my sewing machine to a zigzag stitch that is a short stitch. That's what I'm doing right here, just above a buttonhole, and then a wide stitch. So I'm going to have a wide, tight zigzag as I go to sew these liner pieces. And so I'm putting 2 of them back to back so that both sides have the print on them, and just zigzagging around the entire thing. And then here we have the first one done, and you can see how it turned out there, being able to see the pattern on both sides. So you'll see my clothing has changed. It's a new day here, and we're getting ready to do the top, or actually the bottom of the main pad. And so you just take the straight edge here and fold it over. I think it says a 1/2 inch in the pattern. I didn't pin them. This is a wonderful project if you've never really sewn before, or you don't feel like being really precise, because it really doesn't matter so much. And for this, I'm just going to do a straight stitch and just stitch that part down to make sure that it's not going to, come unraveled or whatever, and keep the edges even. And now that we've got all of our pieces individually ready, it's time to start assembling it. So you're going to take 2 of these half pad pieces, and we're going to put them onto the main pad. You're going to have to figure out which way they fit. It does seem like one side maybe is a little bit longer than the other, and so you can see I'm going to lay them on here just so that they're kind of touching in the middle. I've tried to do it one way, and then you'll see here in a second that I eventually flipped them and they fit a little bit better. The good thing is that once you have sewn this together, if they're a little bit off, it's easy to just go around it and trim off any excess parts that you might see. I don't think these are really going to fray very much. They might fray a little bit, but we'll just trim off strings. But so there you see I've kind of flipped it around and get it all lined up here. Make sure the edges are all tucked together. Again, you could pin this. It probably would be wise to pin this, but I didn't. I just went ahead and put it on my sewing machine and zigzagged the whole way around it. You can see here that the pad is now done, this first one, and like I said, it's just a simple zigzag stitch the whole way around the outer edge to hold these 3 pieces together. Trim the strings, and then you can experiment with putting in your lining pieces. So there's 2 of them there, and you just slide them in between the 2 top pieces here that actually end up on the bottom, but tuck them into there, and then your pad is pretty much ready to be used. Okay, we are done. I've got all of pads and my liners, my inserts. I think this probably took me maybe 5 hours or so over the course of several days to get this done, and I made 20 pads, and I think I did like 60 of the individual inserts. So I had shown you while I was sewing them, but I'll kind of show you here again the way that it worked out. Let me find the one I already stuffed. Okay, so I made enough of the inserts for there to be 3 in each pad if I would need it. Of course, you know, it's adjustable for how much you need, how much absorption you need at that particular time. So 3 of them together adds a bulk of, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. And like I showed you, they just slip inside of this. I mean, really, it's very similar to a cloth diaper. If you've done cloth diapers, you can do this. If you haven't done cloth diapers, you can probably still do this. It's really not a big deal. So you kind of tuck them in there and move them around until they feel comfortable. And so this part, the open part, is going to go against your underwear, and then the wings wrap around. And you can add a snap. I think I'm going to add buttons to mine. I have a good buttonhole foot for my sewing machine, but in the meantime, safety pins, baby diaper pins, whatever, to hold it in place. So the smooth side's what's actually going to touch your skin. So I think it'll be really comfortable. Now, as far as washing and stuff, I'm planning on rinsing them, putting them in a bucket, like a dry bucket like I would for cloth diapers. But you don't actually have to like remove the liners and rinse each one. You're just going to kind of rinse it out, toss it in already put together, and the agitator in the washer is going to make it all come apart. And the reason that you do them with the liners separate instead of like one big thick bulky pad is that it dries easier. You're not going to end up with like moisture being held and mold forming and all that disgusting stuff. You're just going to be able to dry these super easy on the line, in the dryer, however you want to do it. So that's that as far as washing. When I looked on Etsy, it looked like the cheapest I could find, and honestly they didn't really look handmade, for a cloth pad was like $5 a piece. So going with that price, I mean, there's $100 worth of savings there. And if it took me 5 hours, then, you know, my rate of return is $20 an hour. But it's actually more than that, because now I don't have to buy disposable pads, and then I don't have to pay to get rid of them. So it should be a good cost savings over the long haul, and it was really easy to do these. Yeah, if you haven't ever made them and you want to, I think this is a great beginner project. And let me know how it goes for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.